David Brewster here on the 3 for All. This is 3 Jeff Healey Licks from 1989, and the late great Jeff Healey, was a blues rock guitar legend. Definitely a very impressive guitarist, tons of feel and emotion and energy, and his phrasing and his licks and bending and vibrato moves and everything were really just inspiring and one of a kind. And definitely one of the most impressive things about Jeff Healey was the fact he was blind, and he lost his sight when he was a 1-year-old boy. And then I think he started playing guitar when he was about 3, and almost immediately, started doing like the guitar in the lap kind of performance technique, because he laid his guitar flat and played this way, which was very unusual. And I've definitely watched a lot of footage of Jeff playing over the years. I definitely remembered him, when he hit the scene with the Jeff Healey Band and Seat of Light, that was in 1989. Starred in the Roadhouse movie, with Patrick Swayze. And he and his band were the house band in the fictitious, double deuce, bar in that movie. But definitely even in that movie, his playing, really, he was kind of like he kind of stole the spotlight, in my opinion, because the best thing about Roadhouse is Jeff Healey. And I'll admit, I've had some requests to feature Jeff Healey, and at first I thought, what am I going to do for that lesson, and I just kind of put it on the back burner and kept him on my list. But then I stumbled on some footage, and there were some nice tight shots of him playing, on the fretboard, this way. And Jeff, normally sat down and played, with the guitar in his lap like that. And then occasionally he would just jump up from his chair and stand and continue jamming overhanded like that. So this overhand technique that he used is really interesting, because I really tried to see which finger he used for barring back here, because he actually used his thumb in a similar way that a lot of guitarists would use their pinky, like this, but he was upside down and backwards like that. And his thumb would dance around like crazy, and he could stretch, really far with his thumb up there and create these really wide intervallic sounds, in his licks and phrases. Really, really cool. But here's an image featuring some shots so you can kind of see a little bit more of his technique, playing overhanded like that. And something else really unusual about Jeff, he had a double neck Jackson soloist, which was very unusual, for anybody to have. But the fact he had one, and he would play, the guitar, and he would lay it flat on his lap and jam, and he would kind of change, from one neck to the other. And then I found some clips of him actually standing up with that guitar, and it's unbelievable, but he was playing it behind his head. Check out this clip right here. Since I finally decided to hit Jeff Healey, and I did have some requests that came in, to feature him, I decided, almost immediately, we're not going to worry about playing this way. If you want to investigate the overhand kind of lap, technique or playing style, feel free. But I'm going to basically adapt these licks to a normal, playing position, so you can kind of see, what he's playing. And really, if you really kind of analyze and study what Jeff, did, a lot of his phrases were very typical, pentatonic and blues scale based. Occasionally he would dip into some other scales and tonalities too. But he used a lot of pentatonics, just like Eric Johnson and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Hendrix and everybody else too. But it was the way he played, and this aggressive, kind of feel and conviction when he played. Great tone, he always kind of lathered on some overdrive or maybe a wah or something like that. Very biting and dynamic guitarist. Really cool stuff. And to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, here's a clip of him playing a speed lick, and I'm going to show you how to play this lick, but I want you to kind of see how he's literally, overhand and upside down playing this fast pentatonic based idea. Okay, the speed lick's actually in B flat pentatonic, and when I first started watching this footage, where I took the licks from in this lesson, at first I thought he was tuned down a half step, and then I realized, no, he's just playing in B flat, because half the lesson's going to be in B flat, the other half's in A. So he's just conveniently parked, in B flat. But he's basically playing this kind of B flat 6, where he's basically targeting this G note right there. And, over B flat, like a blues, he's basically doing this. And right there you're grabbing the 6 with just that G, and then B flat, and this D flat right there. So you want to start on that G and then do a hammer-on pull-off between that B flat and D flat. And then you want to end right here basically on A flat. You know, really cool lick, and it's speedy, but it's incredible to think like how he actually performed, you know, using his thumb and hitting some of that just, you know, showcase speed right there. The first lick's this really tasty slip and slide blues lick in B flat, and it looks and sounds like this. It's really cool. One more time. So we're basically in B flat minor pentatonic right there. And we're basically grabbing you know, the 6th fret there on the B and the high E string, and then we're targeting this A flat and bending that up to B flat like this, and dig in because he's picking pretty hard right there. And then you want to come down. And that's really cool where you're coming down like this. And right there you're grabbing this E flat, bending that up a half step to the flat 5. And then you're going to grab this D flat and bend that up a half step. So you're flirting with the flat 5 and the minor and major 3rd right there, which is so cool. And then you hear him slide these 6ths. And there's the slip and slide part of the lick. But one more time here. Such a cool lick. The next lick's this higher position melodic phrase, and we're still in B flat minor pentatonic, and this is also really cool. Something like this. One more time. We're basically still, you know, way up here in B flat minor pentatonic now, you know, in a higher position. And he's doing this kind of back and forth melodic tag right here in the beginning. And then you want to just basically repeat that first one. And then hit that B flat again, and then he starts doing this on the G string. So you're kind of picking that E flat a few times right there while you're doing the bend, like that. So it's an interesting little bending like there. And then you're doing this. And then you want to come down. That's really cool. So one more time with this lick. The next idea is this melodic position shifting phrase, and we're in A minor, just good old, you know, good old A minor. And this is really cool, something like this. One more time. So we're in A minor pentatonic, and he starts on C right here, and then shifts from D to E, and then grabs G right there on the D string, like this. And And then you want to do the exact same thing an octave higher. Start on C, shift from D to E, and grab G right there on the B string. And you put all that together, it's a really cool phrase. And kind of doing all these shifts right there. And then you want to start doing this. One more time there. And when you put all that together, it has this really cool flow and sound to it. It's such a cool lick. Here's a bonus lick from this footage, and it's this wide interval pull-off pattern, and we're still in A minor pentatonic. And the footage is good because you can see his hands, but the angle is kind of bad, and you can't actually see, where he is. But it's something like this. It's really cool. One more time. So it's this crammed, busy, little lick, but it's something like this slow. So you're kind of pulling off that C to A and then grabbing that E right there on the B string. And then grab D and pull off that to A and then grab that E. Go back to C, back to D, back to C, and then just stay on the high E and pull off, D to A, C to A, B to A. And then pull off G to E there on the B string, go back to that A and come down, kind of coming down like the A blues right there. And then you kind of hear this really typical kind of blues slide or shift. Really cool lick. And it just kind of feels like you're falling down the stairs, but you land on your feet. So cool. Alright, that's going to wrap this episode of 3 for All with 3 Jeff Healey Licks from 1989. And when I noticed a few, requests for Jeff, I thought, man, how am I going to approach that? And, almost immediately, like I said earlier, I just decided not to even bother, with his actual, playing technique. And I just wanted to flip it and kind of play it, with a normal, playing style. And if you find some concert footage, there are complete concerts, here on YouTube for Jeff Healey. They will blow your mind. He was so intense, and he would just start, jamming and singing and playing, and then he'd take a solo and just start soaring off, almost like Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan or someone like that, where it was just flowing and, literally just coming out of his soul or whatever, so impressive. So great player. So if you know who I'm talking about, dive back into Jeff's music. And if you don't know Jeff Healey, dive in and check him out, because the studio albums are great, all the live footage is great, and he was just exciting. Definitely when you watch him play, he's seated, singing and jamming, and then suddenly he'd stand up and he'd start, like grabbing his guitar and hitting it up against his chair and just doing all this stuff, playing behind his head like I showed earlier with a double neck guitar. I mean, he was definitely a showman and fiery. Lots of energy, great player. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to Net Lessons, and I'll be back before you know with more content and material. Thank you.